These are Celtic Twilight bagpipes during the Drowning Flames. The reason why I'm playing that today is because today is National Bagpipe Appreciation Day, and I've always appreciated the bagpipe. Being part Scottish, I think that has something to help with it, and my stepdad used to love it a lot as well, and so it's still in my blood, I guess. Welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 306, and probably the last one that will be on the Hangouts on air aspect. Now, a few years ago when I first started this, I was on Google Plus, and I did this from Google Plus for the longest time, and then Google Plus stopped existing for the most part. But YouTube, who had taken over, that was still allowing people to stream through it, but there are messages and stuff like that saying Google Plus will be going, or Hangouts on air will be going away August 1st, which is on Thursday. That being said, next week I will be taking a break from the show, not because of that, but I also got to figure out how I'm going to be doing the show and transmitting it to you guys from now on. I mean, I think YouTube has some aspects they can use to do that, but next weekend, my son and wife are away camping, and my daughter's home. And we're going to be resurrecting our movie marathons. We haven't had a chance to do that in a while, but we're going to be able to do it now. So that'll be fun. So I'll be watching movies all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Not all day Saturday, because Saturday is also Pokemon Go Community Day, which is early, since the last Community Day was just last weekend. So it was real quick, and then boom, it's Community Day again. So we're going to do that as well. But yeah, I will not be able to do a show because we'll be watching movies. And to be honest, that's what I would like to do. So next week I'll be taking a little minor break. So there'll be no new episode of Dylan Knows next week, unless I decide to do it like on a Friday or something like that, which I highly doubt also. But we'll see. And there's that. So today, though, we've got a brand new episode. We're going to talk about Rutger Hauer, who passed away this week. We're going to talk about animals. We're going to talk about crocodiles. We're going to talk about decapitation. We're going to talk about Paul Rudd. We're going to talk about NASA and the moon. The moon, 50th anniversary of the moon landing has come and gone, but there's still some stories to talk about. We'll talk about a little bit about alcohol, stupid people, and some other interesting things as well. So anything else exciting going on? No. So that's really about it. So and away we go. Probably should be drinking water. I don't think I'm drinking any water today. I think after this, when I'm having my recovery time, I will probably drink a glass of water. Anyway, first up, a pink elephant was discovered in a South American park, or South African park. Pink elephants have always been the purview of people who were drunk or stoned or on drugs, but now there's actual proof that there are pink elephants out there, and they are real. And it's not some animal that was dyed pink or whatever, it's just the way it is. Rare alligator sightings have been showing up in Connecticut. Connecticut seems to be a weird place to see alligators, but here we are. Again, that could all sort of be similar to what's going on with climate change or some other climate change stories we're going to be talking about today. Regardless if you believe in it or not, there is some weird stuff going on right now in our world, and this is one of them. What are alligators and crocodiles doing in a place like Connecticut? I don't know. American crocodiles are thriving outside of a Florida nuclear plant. So I guess there's a nuclear power plant in Florida, and these crocodiles are living large outside of the nuclear plant. Not that they're like growing to monstrous size, but they're thriving. So something must be good by the nuclear plant for them. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence, the fact that it's a nuclear plant, or that was what the whole story was about trying to prove that, hey, look, it's crocodiles and nuclear energy are a good match. The Walking Dead last season had Rick Grimes in the TV show, had Rick Grimes dying, but he was not dying. He actually went off parts unknown, And AMC has announced that they were making 3 Walking Dead movies with Rick Grimes. Well, we've just got official word from San Diego last week that the first Walking Dead Rick Grimes movie will be shown in movie theaters. So whenever that gets made, supposedly it's supposed to be this year. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do that and set it up in time or what. I'm not sure. So we shall see. Well, I've been marking off these. Check, 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 check. My son occasionally goes back to Minecraft every once in a while, but he hasn't played it as much as he used to. Roblox is a new big thing now, but Minecraft is still a hugely popular game going on right now in the world. So this is an interesting story. Minecraft players take 9 years to create Middle Earth on their Minecraft server, which is absolutely insane. If you've seen some of the stuff that Minecraft people are doing, it is absolutely amazing. And this group of people spent 9 years to create their server to make it look like Middle Earth, down to every last little speck they could find, the forests and the giant cities and the volcanic mountains and stuff like that. It's absolutely breathtaking and amazing, and you should check it out. Google Minecraft Lord of the Rings or something like that. You should be able to find it. Or Minecraft Middle Earth. Philadelphia man steals car with kids inside, but gets caught and then gets beaten to death by the father and a bunch of bystanders. You can steal cars all you want, but you don't steal cars with kids in them. And people will defend kids to the end, which they should, because certain aspects of our government are not defending the children down to our south, but we're not going to talk about that right now, because these comments, these little bon mots that I throw out there once in a while, what gets me thumbs down from the negative Nancy's down in DC and his followers. Here's something else that'll get me some negative. Due to climate change, I believe, a lake has been discovered in the Alps at 11,000 feet. Never been discovered before because, hey, it used to be cold up there, and now it's not cold up there, and now we have a lake all of a sudden make its first appearance in the Alps 11,000 feet up. That's not like, it's nothing. 11,000 feet is pretty high. A couple of trailers came out this week for new movies coming out in the fall. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Tom Hanks, Mr. Rogers biopic, had its first showing. And when I first saw it, it took me a second to get into it because it's Tom Hanks being Mr. Rogers, and it's Tom Hanks being Mr. Rogers, and the voice just didn't quite fit with Mr. Rogers. He tried, but didn't quite work. But as the trailer went on, it got to be more like, okay, this is what Mr. Rogers was really about, and Tom Hanks is probably the perfect person to portray that. And I ended up liking it a little bit more. My wife watched it a couple times. She's always been a fan of Mr. Rogers. Long history with that. Main reason was her father, like my father-in-law, looked a lot like Fred Rogers. So much so that friends of hers used to ask her if her dad was Mr. Rogers. But it should be interesting, and I think it'll get some Oscar love. I think Tom Hanks will probably get a nomination for the role. And Mr. Rogers was a wonderful human being, and so is Tom Hanks. So you got the best of both worlds. Next up, you've got around Halloween, you're going to get a sequel 10 years in the making. Zombieland 2 Double Tap is finally out and about, and it's fun to see where your favorite characters are 10 years later. And they're basically, that's basically what the premise is. 10 years later, they're still surviving, but things are starting to go off the rails a little bit, and they start meeting other people, and things start changing. So it looked fun. The first movie was fun. This one looks fun. Probably make some money, particularly if it opens in the October timeframe, which I think it is going to. And also, this movie has been trying to get made for years, and it's finally been made by Ang Lee. Gemini Man with Will Smith is finally here. At one point, Harrison Ford was circled to be in it as well. It's basically a younger version of the actor taking on the current version of the actor. So a young, de-aged version of Will Smith is fighting the present-day Will Smith, the characters that he's playing. And the new Gemini Man trailer actually continues to up the action ante and proves that Ang Lee is one of those directors who can basically direct anything, looks good, and entertaining as heck. And who knows, maybe it's an action film, but maybe Will Smith will get some Oscar love due to his portrayal of two different versions of himself. Rutger Hauer is the biggest name that passed away this week. Character actor who's been in a bunch of movies. The six big ones off the top of my head that I remember, obviously Blade Runner, his bad guy, which is actually kind of funny because his bad guy character dies, spoiler alert, in Blade Runner in 2019 because it takes place in the future, and the actual real Rutger Hauer also dies in 2019, so that's kind of an interesting little sidebar. Nighthawks, which is one of the first movies I ever remember seeing. I saw it by accident. It was on like HBO when we first got HBO. It's Billy D. Williams, Sylvester Stallone, and Rutger Hauer. It was a violent action film type of thing, and I probably should have been watching it, but I did, and I caught it, a little bit of it. It was I don't remember much about it, but Nighthawks was going to play a little bit role later in the show. Also, Lady Hawk is a good one. Matthew Broderick, Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's a fantasy film, and that's a type of film that it'd be nice to see what could have been done present day with the CGI stuff, but at least, this looks entertaining for an 80s film. And then he gets into his genre stuff. He played the bad guy in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie with Christy Swanson and Luke Perry. And that was always a fun film to see him do that. He also had a small role in Sin City, which is a movie that I've seen a bunch of times and still kind of enjoy. And he also had a role in Batman Begins, which I'm thinking of maybe showing my daughter next weekend for our movie marathon. So he's been in a whole bunch of other movies. He started off as a Dutch actor and in Dutch movies overseas, some Paul Verhoeven. He was like a lot of Paul Verhoeven movies before Paul Verhoeven came to America. And so now he's passed away. I mentioned this a while back and didn't think much of it, but it's slowly coming back as to a main story the closer we get to it. There is now 58,000 names signed to a petition to change the date of Halloween from October 31st to the last Saturday in October. Now, I remember discussing this a while back, and on the surface, I understand why people want to do it. A lot of, Halloween is only going to hit those prime Friday, Saturday slots every few years. And that's the main thing, is that if Halloween is on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, your kids go out trick-or-treating, they stay out late, but then they have to go to school the next day. Or you have to take them to trick-or-treating and you have to work the next day and stuff like that. I get it. I understand, why people might be upset about that. Saturday is a good date because, hey, you can stay out as late as you want. You're going to have Halloween parties. It's not a big deal because most people have Sunday off and they can recover on Sunday and then back to the work week, school week on that Monday. I get that. But Halloween is forever going to be October 31st in my mind. And I know that, change happens, but as far as I remember, as long as I remember, Halloween has always been October 31st. Now, Memorial Day is always the last Monday in May, and Labor Day is always first Monday in September, and so those are ones where you can get different dates, and it's not that big of a deal. Christmas is always going to be December 25th. Now, the reason why you're not hearing a lot about, why aren't we moving Christmas to the last Saturday in December or the last Sunday in December, since it's basically kind of a Christian holiday? Well, the main reason is because schools are usually closed during that week, so there's no reason to change it. That's why it's always going to be December 25th. Thanksgiving changes depending. It's always the fourth Thursday in November. So depending on, or the last Thursday in November. So that's why this year it's late. This year it's 28th, I think. So which I think is the latest it can be. Maybe the 29th, I'm not sure. So I don't remember Thanksgiving ever being on the 30th of November. But that, that's understandable too. That's fine. It doesn't have a set date. Halloween always had a set date of October 31st. Whenever you heard October 31st, that's Halloween. So my mind is keep Halloween at October 31st. And most people I've talked to are like, keep it on October 31st. But that being said, I understand. I get why you want to change it. I do. I get that. And here's the thing also you need to know also. That Saturday is already Halloween Eve or Halloween prep or early Halloween or whatever you want to call it anyway, because of that. My kids who've been in elementary school, well, my daughter started her middle school this year, her first year. She's already finished her first year. My son still has one more year of elementary school. But my kids' elementary school always did their trunk or treat the last Friday before Halloween. So that was a Friday night. So you'd go to school and then you'd go home and you go right back to the school and have the trunk or treat. There was a Halloween fall, party or whatever, and then there was trunk or treat at the end. That Saturday is the last Saturday in October is also the free comic book day Halloween edition, and also it's a time where malls and strip malls and shops and stuff like that, they do their early trick or treating. Because it is Saturday, because you can do it all day and get kids out there during the day and have events at these malls and different things. You can do pumpkin carving and bobbing for apples and all kinds of stuff like that. And you're already doing that anyway. They just want to change that and make that be Halloween. And I don't understand that. Just keep Halloween as October 31st. And you're still going to get all these Halloween events and stuff like that, that last Saturday in October before Halloween. You're always going to get that. So, you can still do that, and you don't need to call that Halloween proper. If you just want your kids to go trick-or-treating at the malls and stuff like that, that's fine. But you know what? Don't expect your neighborhoods to open up their doors on that Saturday. Maybe that's what your issue is. But to me, Halloween should always be on October 31st. But I just wanted to let you know that I understand and I get why you would want to change it to first Saturday or the last Saturday in October. The stories to be continued. A bishop says gay people exist because pregnant women have anal sex. That's just homophobic and stupid as I can't even say it right now. Stupid as F. A moronic thing to say, but it's an okay thing to say now in this atmosphere we have in our world right now, which is absolutely sucky. Thanks a lot, Washington. So, oh well. Speaking of that, 84 degrees. 84 degrees. That's what it was. It was a little bit warmer than that here in Baltimore. It's 79 degrees right now, but it was 87 today. 84 degrees. To a place like Baltimore, that's normal summer weather. A place like the Arctic, that is what the hell is going on. The Arctic had an 84-degree day this week. 84 degrees in the Arctic. What do you think about when you think about the Arctic? You think of ice, you think of snow, you think of cold. 84 degrees in the Arctic this week. England and Europe are getting trashed with a massive heat wave that they've never seen before, record-breaking heat wave. We had our massive heat wave last week, and it's not even August yet. August is the hottest month of the year here in Baltimore, so I am assuming we will be getting a lot more hot days. Our upcoming temperatures are 92, 93, 93, 88, 86, 85, 85, 87, 89. And that's normal for summer in Baltimore. But you do not see that in the Arctic. The Arctic at its warmest should only get to be maybe 60 degrees at that, not 84 degrees. There's something seriously wrong. And where are all your jokes about, oh, what about global warming, huh? Blah, blah, blah. Like they say when we have snowstorms, oh, where's that global warming? Well, And here it is, 84 degrees in the Arctic, you stupid sons of bitches. God, I hate you. I need a drink. Sorry, I just had to do it and get that out. Better out than in, I always say. So this is a kind of bizarre, disgusting type of story that is actually about 15 years old. But it's just coming to light. Actually, not 15, 5 years old. It's just coming to light now because the lawsuits have finally started getting taken care of, because it takes a while for due process to happen. The FBI in 2014 investigated a place called, where is it? The Biological Resource Center in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a place where, I guess body parts are taken or put in storage so that, organ donors who say they want their organs to be donated to those after they've died, where they go in storage until they are needed. I guess that's what makes sense to me. Well, the FBI had investigated a case where a family who had sent a loved one there had some horrifying news and seen horrifying things there. They wanted the FBI to investigate. When the FBI got there, this is what they discovered. They discovered a woman's head attached to a man's body, which was found lying next to buckets, not one bucket, not two buckets, buckets of human parts in the lab just sitting there. The freezer floors were covered in blood and muck and disgusting stuff. A pail of a freezer, what is it? Where is that note? A cooler was filled with men's genitalia, and there was other bits and pieces just harvested. The bodies had been cut up using chainsaws, not precision instruments like you expected. And as I said, a woman's head was found attached to a man's body. As I said, it was all done at the Biological Resource Center in Phoenix, Arizona, which is run by somebody by the name of Stephen Gore. I can't make that stuff up. It's a bizarre, disgusting, disturbing story. And surprising me that this is the first I heard of it, since it's only been 5 years since it first occurred, and I had been doing my show during that time. I must not have caught it, or maybe it was announced. I never saw it. I don't know. But all in all, that's just a massively bizarre and disgusting thing. And I hope it doesn't happen anymore. This week in comics saw the new renaissance of the Marvel mutants. Now, the X-Men have been one of Marvel's most popular characters for the longest time. Wasn't always that way. Up into the 1970s, the X-Men were actually in danger of getting canceled. Then the guy by the name of Chris Claremont created a comic called Giant Size X-Men #1, where he introduced a brand new team of X-Men, new characters, some pre-existing character, well, one at least pre-existing character. Wolverine had been used before in a Hulk comic. He was now used for this Giant Size X-Men as being a member of the X-Men. And it started the new era of mutants written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont stayed on for 20-some years writing the X-Men. And through that time, the X-Men grew in huge popularity in stories like the Dark Phoenix storyline, and Inferno, and Mutant Massacre, and Fall Mutants, and all these big events, Apocalypse, so on and so forth, House of M, the one where they go to the alternate reality for like 2 years. All that happened and led to the X-Men becoming hugely popular. Multiple books of X-Men coming out, solo books of a lot of characters, miniseries, stuff like that. And gradually it's just grown and grown and grown to be so outlandish and so crazy, and the continuity has been so messed up and tore up and redone and redrawn, all stuff. That's just been a huge craziness, and I had lost interest in reading the X-Men a while back. Well, Jonathan Hickman, who's a writer who's been made famous from his run on, I think, Fantastic Four and a few other different things, has taken over the running of the mutant aspect of Marvel and has created a whole new mutant universe, as it were. And the first issue of his new universe dropped this week in House of X #1. Now, I've been trying to cut down on my comics because I buy too many comics and I don't read them all as I should. And I had no intention of being interested in picking up House of X. So when I went to the comic store Wednesday, I took it off the shelf, just leafed through it. I was like, okay, looks all right, and put it back. It just didn't look like anything that I was going to be interested in, and went about and grabbed my regular stuff. So I come back. Excuse me. So I come back here, and I start going through social media, and I start reading all my comic fans talking about House of X. It seemed like every comic book person I follow on Twitter, friends, creators, stuff like that, were all talking about House of X and how good it was. And it got to the point was, maybe I should check it out. So begrudgingly on Friday, I went to the comic store before I came home from work and bought a copy of House of X. And since my wife and daughter are camping this weekend, hence that's why I'm in the kitchen and Noah's upstairs asleep, I read it Friday night while Noah was on his tablet. And all I have to say is, damn you, Hickman, I want to read more, and you've got me hooked. The storyline was very interesting. It is definitely taking a different tact than usual. Apparently, the last storyline before this had a lot of X-Men getting killed and slaughtered and massacred and stuff like that. Well, this, in turn, reverses it really easily and really quickly by having Professor X on the living island Krakatoa, which is from the original giant-size X-Men, and creating these flowers, I guess using Krakatoa and his own mental powers, I guess, to recreate his X-Men. And then they ended up planting bunches of different parts of Krakatoa all over the world. And then Krakatoa became its own island in the Pacific, not near anybody. And it turns out that these flowers that they've been planting are actual portals from Krakatoa to these locations. So if you need to get to New York or Washington or California or Paris or Genosha or wherever, these flowers have already been planted, and that's the transport from Krakatoa to there. So the X-Men are living on Krakatoa with their mutants. Some are still living on the mainland, I think, but they can always go back to Krakatoa if they want to. And Professor X is using his vast wealth to create his own country for mutants, and is basically forcing the rest of the world to treat him as a new country, with trading deals and stuff like that. And they are offering 3 pills that they are used from the flowers of Krakatoa to help humans with, I think one can cure any disease, another is cure brain diseases, and I forget what the third one is. And they also have ones for mutants that are mutants only. And so they are basically kind of forcing other countries to recognize them as a regular country. And those who do will be granted these special pills for their population. That in itself is a great idea. But meanwhile, there's also the anti-mutant faction who believes that they're becoming too powerful and that mutants are going to outnumber regular people in the next 20 or so years. And so they need to stop that from happening because they're afraid of becoming a minority again. That means regular people. So basically, a lot of it is current event type of stuff, which is why, you know, the white supremacists are out there, because they're afraid that they are slowly becoming the lesser genus, species, whatever out there, because of the influx of more Mexicans and Africans and Puerto Ricans and dark-skinned people. And that's what they're afraid of. That's why they are forcing their hand, trying to treat them as less than human. And that's kind of what House of X was doing, but in a kind of reverse type of way. So in and of itself, it's gotten my attention, and I will continue reading it. Now, it's going to be a set of 2 miniseries going through October, which is going to set up the whole universe. And then either in October, I think only in October, after the series has been set up, they're going to release the new mutant comics. I think it's Fallen Angels, Astonishing X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, stuff like that. I think Hickman's writing most of those also. So to be continued, we'll see what happens. But I will come in for at least the mini series, and then we'll see what else comes down the line. So definitely worthwhile if you've always been interested in mutants and X-Men. I definitely take a look. It is definitely a new day for mutants, and you know, fairly easy to get back into if you haven't been reading mutants in a while. So there's that. The Biblioburro is a man with a burro, which is kind of a mini donkey, who walks around to different Colombian villages and brings books to the children so they can read and stuff like that. It's a great idea, and literacy is huge. Learning how to read is very important, and I think it needs to be a major thing you need to keep learning to do. Afternoon naps are a sign of health. So if you want to take a nap during the afternoon, don't feel bad about taking a nap during the afternoon. Science has been saying it does not affect your sleeping habits at night. And also, it's actually more beneficial for you because it'll make you less tired in the end, which is kind of true because right now I'm exhausted and it's only 10 o'clock. Now I'm wondering if I took a little nap during the day, if I would feel more energized than I do right now. Right now, I just feel sluggish. I got a long way to go. I at least got another page and a half left of stuff to talk about. So let's see if we can get to that. But afternoon naps are a good sign. So do not feel guilty and do not feel bad about taking a nap in the afternoon. It actually is beneficial for you, according to science. Massachusetts mom of 3 chases down and pins on the ground an alleged flasher. So some dude flashed this mother of 3 and then ran away. And she's like, I ain't going to take that stuff. Ran after him, knocked him down, and pinned him to the ground until, I guess, police came or something like that. So good on you, man. Take it back. Good on you, lady, I meant. Take it back. Take your life back. Don't become a victim. Kick their ass. Make sure they don't do it again. Survey finds couples that play Mario Kart together stay together. I feel like I've done that story before. My wife and I have played Mario Kart together before. We also play it with the kids a lot. We just haven't done it recently. We don't even have the new Mario Kart for the Nintendo Switch. So we haven't played in a while, but we have played it, and we're still together. 7 best friends chipped in to buy a mansion so they could all grow old together, which I think is an absolutely brilliant idea. You get a group of people together, you're all friends, you know, and you pitch in and buy a $1 million, $5 million mansion, whatever. I mean, with 7 people, you can probably swing it. And you live in the mansion. The mansion is so big that if you need space away from your friends, you have your own space. The grounds, you can hang out with your friends or do stuff on your own. But, you know, the main reason is they're all friends and they all love each other and they want to grow old together. So, hey, more power to you. I think it's a great idea. I wish more people would do that sometimes. I talked about Walking Dead earlier. I mentioned that the AMC is going to be doing a 3rd spinoff. I guess I should say a 2nd spinoff. a third Walking Dead series. We're getting a little bit more information about it now because they're starting to film it the next week or so. It's called Monument, and the scene they're going to be filming is a plane crash, and they are filming it in Virginia. So there's a neighborhood in Virginia who revealed on social media that the new Walking Dead show Monument is going to be filming a scene from the upcoming show in their neighborhood. It's a plane crash. So that's all we know about it now. But we do now have a name called Monument. So I don't know if it's going to take place in Washington, which is awfully close to Alexandria, where Rick Grimes and friends are. And I kind of wish they would go into a different spot away from all the other Walking Dead people and have their own storylines. But what do I know? I don't know how real this is. When I first heard the story, I wasn't going to write it down, but then more and more sources kept citing it. I didn't read the Snopes piece on it, so I don't know if it's true or not, but this reminds me of a story I did a while back about a piece of sushi, which is raw fish, that was brought out to a table, people who wanted sushi, and a piece of the raw fish actually crawled off of its plate and off the table, meaning it wasn't quite dead yet. It's raw, obviously. So that is a little bit more believable than this, because raw fish is raw fish. This, we had a piece of raw chicken comes to life and crawls off the table. Now, first and foremost, now there's video of it. Now, first and foremost, who in their right mind would eat raw chicken anyway? It makes no sense. Does a restaurant even offer raw chicken? Am I missing something? Am I not classy enough to know what raw chicken is, what type of meal it is? And regardless, it's disgusting, raw chicken. Now, raw fish I can get behind. I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand it a bit better than raw chicken. But this had a picture of the chicken coming to life and crawling off the table, similar to what the fish did, the raw fish did. So I'm not exactly sure if it's a true story or not, but the raw fish makes more sense to me than raw chicken crawling off of a plate. Now, obviously, everybody's saying, "Oh, it was nervous system; it wasn't quite dead yet." Blah blah blah. But well, I still don't. I'm not quite sure, but I figure I'd bring it up anyway. I love Paul Rudd. Always have. I think Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp are two of the most underrated Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I love them both. And to be honest, of all the MCU movies, those are the ones I tend to rewatch more often because I find them more entertaining and fun. And Paul Rudd in general is just a great guy. Every time I see this, I always have to keep playing it, and I have it saved on Facebook. But Paul Rudd also trolls Conan O'Brien every time he goes on Conan's show to push a movie he's in, and they show a clip. It's always the same clip of a scene from Mac and Me. And he's been doing that for 15 years. So I just love Paul Rudd in general. And a couple weeks ago, I mentioned he's going to be working on Ghostbusters 3, which has just made that movie be 100 times more exciting for me. Well, today got word that he was approached to reprise his role as Tommy Doyle from Halloween 6 in the new upcoming Halloween movies that are going to be coming out in the next year or so from Blumhouse. It would not be the same Tommy Doyle because Halloween 6 does not exist in the continuity that they're doing now in the movies. But they thought they have a story where they want to bring Tommy Doyle back, and they thought Paul Rudd would be the most appropriate Tommy Doyle to bring back since he's probably the most famous Tommy Doyle they have. Unfortunately, it looks like he may not be able to do it due to him signing up for Ghostbusters 3. So hopefully he'll be able to work it out. Maybe they'll be able to work it out. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it would be great if they could get him to do it, and I think he'd be up to doing it. And it would make it even more interesting to see the movie. But at this point, I think, his focus should be on Ghostbusters 3, because Ghostbusters 3 is probably going to make more money than the Halloween movies. And it's a more popular saga than the Halloween films. But I think it would be really, really cool if he did the Halloween movies as well. So to be continued. Beluga whale interrupts a wedding at an aquarium in the perfect photo bomb. So there was a picture taken by the wedding photographer of this man and woman who wanted to get married at the aquarium, and they got married in front of this huge water tank, priest and everything. And in the picture, as they say their vows, there's a giant beluga whale who's watching them. So kind of a cute little story. And again, I swear, like I've done that story before, but I don't know. This is interesting because this story has gotten me my most liked and retweeted tweet ever. On Twitter, a mom went on this huge rant that childless couples should not go to Disneyland or Disney World, that it should only be for families. But if they don't change that, they should have specific lines for families with children at like the restaurants and the snack stands and stuff like that. Now, this woman was ranting because she had a 3-year-old who had to wait in line to get a pretzel. And the 3-year-old was throwing a tantrum, and the mom was losing her shit. And she saw that there was a young couple, a man and a woman, maybe on their honeymoon, getting a pretzel, which was holding up the line, even though they were way far back in the line. Now, first and foremost, that's ridiculous, okay? Disneyland and Disney World is not an inclusive resort for families. There's a whole bunch of different things for people to do. And what about families that can't have children? There are women who cannot conceive children and might not be able to afford to adopt or even want to adopt. Who knows? Are you not going to allow them a chance to enjoy Disney? And also, it's not just for families. It's for everybody. I just said that, dummy. Also, why, and this is what, the comments was great about this story. What woman in her right mind would bring a 3-year-old to Disney anyway? The child is 3 years old. I guarantee you that they will not remember this trip at all when they're 10 or 11. They might see the pictures, but they're not going to remember anything. And, it is hard having kids, and it's hard to control them. And you can lose your temper and stuff like that. But in the end, you also said, well, it could go faster if you have a separate line for moms with children. Well, then now you're just waiting in another line with moms with children, which is probably going to be longer than the one with childless couples. Disney's for everyone. Suck it up. Wait till your kids get older. I still haven't gone with my family because I can't afford it, because it is hugely expensive and it is hugely busy. That's the other thing also. Disney is going to be busy. Thousands upon thousands of people go through Disney every day. Lines have been known to be upwards of 35 to 40 minutes long to get to a ride that lasts 5 minutes. There's also Fast Pass or whatever. Why don't you pay the extra money and get your Fast Pass? My boss at work, he does that all the time. And he raves about it. He says it might not, you still have to wait, but it's definitely not 40 minutes to an hour. He said it's like 10 to 15 minutes, which is a whole lot better than a freaking hour, isn't it? In the end, lady, you just need to, you're having a bad day, your kid is throwing a tantrum, waiting in line. But A, Disney's busy as hell. B, Disney's for everybody. And C, creating a special line for moms with children is just going to be another line. And you're going to have to wait again. So get over yourself. Texas man was arrested. Not this Texas man, not Florida man. Texas man was arrested for trying to blow up a police officer with his mind. I tried to blow up somebody too. Didn't quite work. Oh, did it? My screen just turned red there for a second. But the dude's picture, he got arrested, obviously. The dude's picture, though, his head is huge. I mean, it's long. He's got a long ass forehead, so it looks like someone who could have brain powers of some kind. Whenever you see in comics or stuff like that, characters that supposedly have big minds, stuff like that, they're big egg-shaped bulbous heads. This dude's head was just that big. It was crazy. Disney Springs, speaking of, there is a spa around the Disney area called Disney Springs for grown-ups. They are releasing sangria and mimosa flavored wine pops for the summer. So if you go to the spa or whatever and you want to cool off quickly, you can get I believe it would probably be alcoholic. It's probably frozen mimosa, frozen sangria pops that will keep you cool during the summer. Man dies from brain-eating amoeba after swimming at North Carolina water park. Now, again, I've been telling stories the last few weeks about people getting the flesh-eating bacteria or brain-eating amoebas all over the place. There was one at the Bay in Maryland, I should say, up the Chesapeake Bay. There's a bunch down in Florida. There's some now in North Carolina, and now one at a water park. I don't know what's going on in the water, and I don't know if this also has something to do with climate change as well, but there is something dangerous out there, and it keeps me getting panicked because my daughter is down in Assateague Island right now, and my wife's been sending pictures of her swimming in the ocean, and I'm always afraid that something's going to happen with this new spate of people getting injured with flesh-eating bacteria or brain-eating amoebas. Now, I know it's only a small handful of people, but still, the possibility is still there. So we'll see. NASA, again, last week was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So we're still going to talk a little bit about it because NASA released this week that they fed moon dust, moon rocks to cockroaches and injected serums with moon rocks in them into mice and other animals to see if the moon rocks contain something that could affect living beings on Earth. It makes, now you think about it, it makes perfect sense because in 1969, you didn't really have the science. This is the first. No one had ever been to the moon before and brought back something from the moon, something foreign, something that is not on our Earth, something that's outside of Earth, something that is out in the vacuum of space that gets hit with radiation every day, or has asteroids from far reaches of the universe that contains who knows whatever, crashing on it all the time. So you don't know what's in the dust and the rocks and what's in them. So in fact, they had to quarantine the Apollo 11 astronauts, even after their 8 days in space, 4 to the moon, 4 back home, their 8 days in space, they were still quarantined for 22 days when they landed on Earth, just to make sure that they did not bring back any space viruses that could affect the course of human life or living green beings. That's why they tested it on insects and other mammals and birds. In the end, they discovered that it wasn't bad, didn't kill anything. The only things it might have killed was some of the clams they used it on, but they think that the science of that was there was something else going on with the clams, that it wasn't poisonous to clams because the mice were fine, cockroaches were fine. In fact, the cockroaches loved it so much they wouldn't keep eating it. And they didn't change. I mean, it's like they didn't get bigger or more aggressive or anything. They were just cockroaches. They were just, it was food for them. Now, this is something that would make a hell of a book, and it did. Michael Crichton, one of his first books he ever wrote was Andromeda Strain, which is a great story about a outer space virus that gets released in a lab, and it's up to the people in the lab to contain it so it doesn't get out and destroy the population of the world. It's a really great knuckle biting storyline. that you definitely should read. It's a good summer read, so check out the Andromeda Strain, definitely. A woman was arrested for pouring alcohol into the mouth of a Taco Bell drive-thru worker. Now, I'm wondering, I'm assuming it's a stranger, and this woman was probably drunk out of her mind and wanted to get some Taco Bell after partying, and she had some extra alcohol, said, "Here, why'd you have some?" And then, proceeded to, shove it down the drive-thru window's mouth. Now, I don't think that is forcibly doing it, because I'm sure the Taco Bell person probably wouldn't stand for that. But the fact of the matter is, this woman still forced alcohol down the throat of a Taco Bell drive-thru worker. Those who know me know that I love Yankee candles. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I love going to the Yankee Candle store, smelling all of the candles and reading the names and the descriptions and seeing the colors. And it changes every month. New candles come out every month, and they're seasonal. Their fall ones should be showing up really soon. Maybe next month, start seeing some of their fall stuff. Like their Halloween stuff will show up in September. Their Christmassy ones will be out in November and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of really, really good stuff. But this week, the Yankee Candle founder, Michael J. Kitteridge II, died. So the guy who created Yankee Candles passed away this week. It's kind of sad. I need to go to Yankee Candle to get some more scents for our my plugins that I have. So, see how the Orioles are doing right now. Sorry, I see something on here. Come on. The Orioles are tied 5-5 in the third inning. God, that's terrible. Who's pitching for us? Oh, yeah, that's right. That dude Brooks is. So, get out of that. 5-5. Another interesting game. College student finds Triceratops skull fossil believed to be 65 million years old. Just imagine yourself a college student. You're on archaeological dig for your school, and you discover a Triceratops skull that's 65 million years old. That's quite impressive. All right, hour in. I still got a page and a half to go, so let's continue on. The Shining, the movie by Stanley Kubrick, will be shown at the Overlook Hotel in December. Now, for those who don't know, Stephen King wrote The Shining at the Overlook Hotel in Colorado, which is a notorious haunted hotel. And he wrote it after staying in there a few nights, including, I think he stayed in one of the haunted rooms. He wrote The Shining, which is basically, I think, one of his first books. I don't think it's his first book. I think Carrie is his first book. But it is one of his early books, and it's based on the Overlook Hotel. He wrote at the Overlook Hotel. And I guess since this seems to be a big deal, the Overlook Hotel has never shown the film, even though it wasn't filmed there, to anybody. So now this December, they will be showing The Shining at the Overlook Hotel. So it's kind of a neat thing. It's like watching Jaws in like a lake or watery area, because there's a place that did that. They set up a movie screen that floats on the water, and you could get into floats yourself and just watch Jaws while in the water. So a 99-year-old woman makes children's dresses from scratch every day, and then she sends them to African nations so that African girls, young girls, can have pretty dresses to wear. I think that's a wonderful thing to do, and it's amazing that there are still kind, loving people out there that still exist, because at this point in time, it's hard to believe in that kind of thing anymore. Pokemon Go's got some interesting stuff going on. As I told you, next weekend is Community Day. It's Ralts. It's a very quick one, a quick turnaround. 2 weeks ago was the last Community Day. So, and then after that, you're not going to see it again for like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So it's going to be a little bit of ways before we have another Community Day. But this one, the big thing going on, though, is that this week we have Team Rocket is taking over Pokestops. Now, this has been mentioned for a while now, and it's finally come to fruition where if you see a Pokestop that is like strobing between black and blue when you spin it, you will have an encounter with a Team Rocket goon who you have to defeat with their evil Pokemon. And then you can either, and if you have to defeat the grunt. If you defeat his Pokemon, you get to catch one of his Pokemons and keep him evil if you want, or you can purify him where you lose some Stardust and some candy, and it will increase the power of the Pokemon. So I haven't actually gone out and done one yet. I've seen a bunch from my house. Actually, let me see if there's any out there now, because from my house, I can see a ton of Pokestops. Let's see. There's not one there. Not one there, not one there. Not one there, not one there, not one there, not one there, not one there. There are presently none in action right now. But I can see them from my house. Or if you're out and about walking and you happen to see it on your screen, you can do that. So it's a special research task going on, so I got to do it eventually because I have to like purify 3 Pokemon and catch 2 or something like that. I don't know. So, but it's a big deal right now, and Pokemon Go is going all in on it. They had cosplayers going to New York City, running around New York City where Pokestops are and pretending to battle, Pokemon Go players and stuff like that. And they're doing all kinds of events, stuff like that. So cool. It's summer. It's hot. Midsummer is actually coming up. If you go from first day of summer, June 21st, to the last day of summer, September 22nd. Midsummer is basically the first week of August. So midsummer's coming up next week. It's only midsummer, so we still have half the summer to go. And I'm just sort of like, ugh. The good news about that, though, is there's about 4 weeks of summer left. Let me think about this. Hold on. From this point on, there's at least 6 weeks, but by next week there'll be 5, I guess, so on and so forth. But there's about 6 to 7 weeks of summer left, and then it's going to be September, and then fall comes, which is my favorite season. I gotta grab the bowl. Say hi, everybody. Hey, Jinxie. My kitty. Anyway, so it's still warm out there, and as I said, August is going to be the hottest month of the summer here in Baltimore anyway. So for women who have boob sweat, you can get these freezable bra inserts that will help stop boob sweat. So I guess they're basically like freezer packs for the most part, I guess. And you put them in the freezer, and then you pull them out, and you do these freezer packs for boobs. So you put them in your bra, and you get nice cold on your boobies, and your tits probably become really, really sharp. And anyway, so that's good for women who suffer from boob sweat. Switching gears, Sylvester Stallone wants to make his movie company his production company that he uses to make movies like that series with all the old action stars, like the Intolerables or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, he produces a bunch of action films. He wants to become the Blumhouse of action films. Now, Blumhouse is a small boutique production company that has come out of nowhere and is able to take over the world of horror films by storm. They're able to create a number of horror films with low budgets that become hugely popular and making a lot of money. So Stallone sees this popularity of this, and he wants to create his own version of Blumhouse, but for action films. I think it's kind of a cool idea. If you can make action films for small budgets, entertaining action films, y'all go all in. Sylvester, sounds like a good idea. Toddler sneaks onto a luggage carousel, rides it all the way to the TSA bag room. So it's an airport, where you, after your flight, you go down to grab your bags, and it's a carousel which drops your bags onto it. And You get it, and you grab your bags, and you take off. Well, this kid, who was unsupervised apparently, got on this little thing, so it goes around a circle, gets on it, and just rides it all the way around to the TSA bag room, which means, I guess, where bags that were not claimed go in case they are bad. So hopefully the parents are going to be charged with neglect, because that's dangerous. In local news, officials are going to try to bring Woodstock 50, because Woodstock, the original Woodstock was in 1969, 50th anniversary of Woodstock. They're going to be trying to bring the Woodstock 50 celebration about 20 minutes down the road that way. And that is Columbia. We have a concert pavilion called Merriweather Post Pavilion. And the funny thing is, it is not nearly big enough to house the amount of people that Woodstock would probably bring in. Now, the original Woodstock obviously was a lot crazier. 1969, lots of hippies, drugs, sex, rock and roll, stuff like that. Woodstock 25, I think, was a little bit more crazy. I think there were some bad things that happened there. I think date rapes and stuff like that happened, and it was hot, and they were throwing mud and stuff, but they're using current bands. I think like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Beastie Boys and some other bands, Smashing Pumpkins, were all playing there, and they're told nothing but horror stories about Woodstock 25. So they were not able to get a location in New York for Woodstock 50, so they're going to attempt to do it in Columbia, Merriweather Post Pavilion, which, unless they're not expecting huge crowds, which would surprise me, but maybe not depending on the lineup. The Post Pavilion area, Merriweather Post Pavilion, is nearly not big enough. It's a smaller concert venue, and it's not nearly big enough. Now, yes, there have been big names there. REM's been there before, and other big names have been there too. But still, it does not seem to be logistical for the amount of people that the past two Woodstocks have brought about. So in the future, we'll see, but that's going to be a big deal. Whenever that's going to come, I don't even know when it's scheduled to hit. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, local news, the president called Baltimore a rat-infested city, and he can go eat a dick. Next up. Women warn. Okay, here we go. So we talked about freezable bra inserts to protect your boobies. Well, officials are warning women not to stick popsicles up your vagina. The fact that this has to be announced is kind of scary, because this is not the first time they mentioned women putting things in their vagina to do something, whatever. But this, in this case, is to cool off your vagina. Don't stick popsicles in it. It might be kind of a sexy foreplay type of thing, but just I'm not. They say it's not probably a very good idea to do that, so don't do it. So, it could be kind of sexy, you jam it in and then you give it to your partner and they eat it. So that's besides the point. It's after 10, so I'm good. I can say it. Woman was pulled over for having a man in a dog cage in the back of her truck. So basically, she had put a man in a dog cage and was driving around town in this pickup truck with this man in a dog cage in the back of a pickup truck. That just seems rather odd to me. Weird. The Charles Manson murder house, not the one that Sharon Tate was murdered in, but for those who don't know, there were actually 2 murders within a span of 2 days that Charles Manson's family was involved with, and the other one is the LaBianco's, the de Blasio, LaBianco de Blasio murders. It was an older couple that was slaughtered by Manson's family, and Manson was actually there. He didn't kill anybody. He was there to make sure that the same mistakes that happened at the Tate murder the night before don't happen again. And the house where this murder took place was put up for sale, and it was bought by Mr. Ghost Adventures himself, Zach Bagans. I'm assuming he's going to turn into some sort of supernatural museum, supernatural history museum type of thing, and I don't even know if there's even ghosts there. I mean, a brutal murder did happen there, and usually that's a sure sign that there's going to be ghost activity, but the fact is he's got the money, he bought it, more power to him. It's like the third piece of real estate that he's bought recently. He bought this one demonic house, which he had demolished, and then he created his own supernatural museum, and now he's buying this house. So we'll see. Here's some crazy animal stuff. A seagull rips off a man's testicles as he's sunbathing naked. So you're sunbathing naked, and all of a sudden the seagull comes down, grabs a hold of your testicles, and rips them all of you and flies away with them. I don't even know how that is possible. And it's got to be hugely painful. And it's hugely bizarre also. This is also not the only seagull story today. The other seagull story is a seagull also swooped down and flew off with a woman's chihuahua, a Mexican chihuahua. So again, Seahawks are dicks. I didn't know they were that vicious. We have them up in our area all the time. They have to hang around in parking lots up here. We're not that close to any water, but I guess they're close enough by the seagull flies. We're close to the inner harbor flying wise, and there's some water around here, but not much. But the fact is, 2 stories the same week about seagulls doing stuff they're not supposed to, taking chihuahuas and tearing off men's testicles. I just can't even imagine that. Man pulls an Uzi submachine gun out of a pond with a magnet and rope. I guess he was doing some metal detecting when there was a massive spike in this pond. So he throws a handmade magnet rope thing to swoop into the pond to see if he can have the magnetic stuff, get stuck to the metal piece, whatever it is, and pull it out. And he pulled it out, and it was a Uzi submachine gun in a pond, which either leads me to believe that A, it's a murder weapon, or B, it's a weapon that someone was not supposed to have and was told to get rid of it, and instead of giving it to the police or whoever, just threw it in a pond. So don't know if it still works or what it was doing there, but someone was able to pull out a Uzi submachine gun. More naked people. We had a seagull rip off somebody's testicles while they were sunbathing naked. Well, again, it's more proof that you shouldn't do anything naked out in public anyway. A naked cyclist was shot with a paintball gun by a man who was angry about the display of nudity. So some dude decides he's going to ride his bike naked, which to me sounds hugely uncomfortable. But no, go for it, man. And some dude who just happened to have a paintball gun, I guess, in his car or whatever, saw this, or maybe it was passed by his house, and he grabbed the paintball gun, chased the dude, and started shooting him with a paintball gun because he didn't like naked people around him. It's really disturbing when nudity affects people as much as it does. And I guess we just can't get that Puritan aspect out of our system. I'm okay with nudity. I mean, I don't think I would dare walk outside completely naked. I've walked outside topless before, and I like seeing my wife naked. But again, I probably wouldn't want to see her naked outside because I want to keep that for myself. But besides the point. Vodka frozen dessert called an Arctic Buzz. Now, this is actually I never knew about this, but this is at a local deli liquor store, probably about 10 minutes from here, which I've never been to. It's 10 minutes that way. They have a frozen dessert machine called the Arctic Buzz that's made with vodka. So it's like a vodka ice cream dessert for grown-ups who want something a bit stronger for their cool off for the summer. So that's interesting. What is that? Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was made into a movie, and it's a really good book series. Well, now it's going to be made into a TV show on Hulu, which I think is a really good idea. If done properly, it'll be able to give you a chance to spread out the story a little bit and do a better job of adapting it. Good Omens did a really, really good job on their Amazon show, and Amazon's like, I hope we do a second season. Like, no, there is no second season. You did everything. That's it. It's a one-time deal. Done. You knew that when the time came. But in this case, Hitchhiker has a bunch of books out, so you could probably do a couple seasons if you wanted to. And hopefully it is done right, because Douglas Adams' series is hugely popular and iconic. Toddler's Cake says, "Happy birthday, loser" on it. Now, this was a complete accident. Again, I did the story a couple weeks ago about the marijuana cake. This one is a little bit different. The mother wanted a specialized cake that said "Happy Birthday, Lizard," because that was the nickname she gave her daughter. But instead, they misheard lizard and said loser. And he took this picture of the toddler who had this like sad look on her face looking at the cake that said "Happy Birthday, Loser." And the mom had to clarify and said she can't read yet. She doesn't know what it says. She doesn't know what a loser is. And it just so happened that's how she was looking when she took the picture. And the mom is no longer that upset about it. She thinks it's kind of funny. Personally, I still think it's kind of rough. And granted that the daughter doesn't know what it said, but still, it's kind of a rude thing to say. Takiki Wakiki, I think it's Taika Waititi or something like that, who directed Thor Ragnarok and announced Thor 4 will be coming in a couple of years. He's got a new movie coming out, which they just released a trailer for that, called Jojo Rabbit, and it is a satire about a German kid whose invisible friend is Adolf Hitler. The movie stars Scarlett Johansson and Sam Rockwell, and I did not know that when I first saw the trailer until I saw it again. And I saw in the description that it stars Scarlett Johansson and Sam Rockwell. So they'd done a good enough job to disguise themselves that it wasn't like, oh my God, it's Scarlett Johansson and Sam Rockwell. So, but when I saw their names and I watched the trailer again, I was like, it was obvious. I could see exactly who they are. So Takiki's actually playing Hitler in this movie as well. And it also brought about that, I don't know if it's really a meme, but I guess it is. For the longest time, there was a movie that came out years ago that was about Adolf Hitler's last days. And someone has used a specific scene from that movie as a Hitler reacts to series of videos. And it reacts to different things, to Twin Peaks not airing, to Alanis Morissette's new album, or just all kinds of crazy stuff. The casting of Michael Keaton as Batman, stuff like that. And they're really done properly. It's because it's all done with subtitles. So they're speaking in German, and they have certain inflections, and you don't know what they're saying unless you speak German. So you change the subtitles to fit with what you want. So they actually did one of those for this movie as well, where it was Hitler reacting to this trailer and getting upset that there have been no good portrayals of him in the movies. So just type in like Hitler react videos. Let me see if that'll work. I don't want that. YouTube. Hitler reacts. Search. If Hitler reacts to the news that Germany will play England at the World Cup. Hitler reacts to Amazon Prime's price change. Hitler reacts to England at the World Cup. Hitler finds out he's being hunted by history. It's just a whole bunch of so just type in Hitler reacts. You'll see all these different videos that he does. Hitler reacts to Star Wars The Force Awakens trailer, general election results, Ben Affleck being cast as Batman. Just fun. It's really, really quite funny. So definitely worthwhile. I talked to you earlier about the Nighthawks movie with Rutger Hauer, where they're going to make a TV show called Nighthawks, which to me is just like a regular cop show, but this time they're undercover cops, the type of thing, who work at night. So we'll see. I just brought that up because it's happening and that Rutger Hauer died. He was in the original one. So a bear walks into a city hall building in California, which is kind of funny because then the best reaction I saw to it was, well, when you put your picture you put a bear picture on the flag of California, you need to expect for him to show up for government stuff. So, but the fact is, a bear physically walked into a California city hall, city hall. So interesting. Angry geese chase an alligator down a golf course. There's like about 10 geese who were squawking and chasing after a poor alligator who was running away. And I guess is unaware that he could probably turn around and eat all of them in a second, but he was too scared, I guess. Lego Masters competition series will be showing up on Fox sometime this year. And it's actually a really good idea for a TV show. These competition shows there's a dime a dozen, but no one has ever done a Lego competition one before. So it should be interesting to see how they plan on doing this. But the fact of the matter is, it's a really good idea and should be a lot of fun to watch. Singapore seizes $48.6 million shipment of elephant ivory and pangolin scales. So they stopped a massive trafficking of animal parts, which is disgusting that they're being hunted and killed for these things. So good on Singapore for seizing that. And hopefully that'll cause things to change and that stuff doesn't happen again. My daughter went off on pangolins a while back. It's kind of interesting. Florida girl, 9 years old, gets tossed by a bison in Yellowstone National Park. Now, I've been to Yellowstone National Park, and the bison are everywhere. And they run the place. So if you're in a car and you're driving on the road, and a bison crosses your path and stops in the middle of the road, you're done. You can't go until the bison moves. You can't go around because the bison will attack your car. You can't drive through because the bison are protected in Yellowstone. The best you can do is maybe do like a 3-point turn and then turn around and ride away and go around and find another way around, or wait till he goes by. But it's really cool to see the bison, and they never went after me or attacked me, so I don't know why this particular bison decided to hit a 9-year-old girl, chase a 9-year-old girl, and hit her, causing her to fly through the air. She's fine. The fact of the matter is was kind of an odd thing to happen, and I don't know why it did. This is a stupid person story, and you'd think she was a Florida one, but I don't think she is. A woman calls 911 and asks them to stop chasing her during a high-speed chase. So this woman committed some sort of crime or is being chased by police officers as part of a high-speed chase. She probably did something illegal. That's why the police are after her. She's not slowing down. She's not. Then the police come talk to her. But she figures, let me call 911 and tell them to stop chasing me. Yeah. That's going to go over really good. Psychologists say to be friends with people who swear a lot. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. I got my one F out of the way. It's 10:48. That should be pretty good. Most suckers aren't watching the show this long anyway, so I can say that stuff. So there you go. More proof that you need to be kind. You need to be friends with people who curse a lot. And that's okay to curse, except in front of children, because then they will do the same curse all the time. City Council to rename street in the Bronx after Stan Lee. So New York City Council is going to rename a street after Stan Lee in the Bronx. A good tribute to Mr. Stan Lee, who I guess might be from that area. Body of a 25-year-old supermarket employee who went missing 10 years ago was found stuck behind a store freezer. Now that brings up all kinds of questions. If this guy went missing 10 years ago and his body was discovered behind a grocery store freezer, first of all, wouldn't the decaying smell draw your attention that something's not right? Secondly, how did it get there? Did he die? Did he get stuck back there on his own accord and die back there somehow? Or did he get murdered and stashed back there? And then things about the scent. How did the scent of decaying not make its way into the grocery store? I don't understand that. So I don't know. I don't even know how they discovered him 10 years later. Were they doing a remodel and they discovered, oh, what's this? And then there's a skeleton behind a freezer with guts and stuff all on the floor. That must be disgusting to see also. So how do you not get the smell? I don't know. Mom runs a 3:11 marathon while pushing 185 pounds in a triple stroller. So she was running with her babies in a triple stroller, a marathon, and she ran it in 3 hours, 11 minutes, which is insane. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean themed hotel. It exists. Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the movies I want to show my daughter during our movie marathon. Hopefully she'll want to check it out as well. So hopefully that'd be good for her. Amazon delivery driver decides when you got to go, decides to poop in his customer's garden. Now, he might have thought he was helping out because poop is a fertilizer and it could help fertilize your plants, but the fact of the matter is you still defecated in someone's yard without their permission. So, and it's an Amazon delivery person also, so that's could be trouble. Man crashes van with $140 million worth of meth into parked police cars, and the policeman came out and arrested him for meth. I think that's kind of funny. Man steals car on a date, steals the car of his date, and then uses it for another date. So he basically had 2 dates set up for this day. He went out on one date with this woman and then either decided not to go back to her place or decided that the date ended there, stole her car, and then met up with another woman and went on a date with her in a stolen car. That just is really interesting. To commemorate the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, a science professor created an old school arcade game out of an app game called Eagle Lander. So I guess there's a app store game, and there was one called Eagle Lander. Let's see if I can find it in here. See what it's like. Eagle Lander. So yeah, so it's an actual app where you can land the eagle, I guess. And a scientist decided, hey, why don't we make it and on for the anniversary, make a old school arcade game about it. So I think that was kind of interesting that they did that. J.J. Abrams, who is going to direct the newest Star Wars film coming out in December, has said that he plans on directing a Green Lantern movie and possibly a Superman movie as well. So J.J. Abrams is now going to get into the world of comic book movies and work on the DC side to see if he can maybe do some magic like he did with the Star Wars films. and the Star Trek films. Science proves Harry Potter makes kids better human beings, which is great because right now I'm reading my son Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and we'll read him the whole series as well. So he's going to be getting into Harry Potter now, so he will be a better person, according to science. What the hell is that? I hate when I'm writing this stuff. Oh, okay. 2 dead, dozens injured after a ride breaks in half at an amusement park. So, we've been talking about how it's scary to be in water parks now with brain-eating amoebas in the ocean with flesh-eating viruses and stuff like that. Well, it's also not safe to go to amusement parks now, apparently, because this is like the second or third piece of equipment, rides, that has broken recently and killed people. So, normally these types of places, they have strict investigation skills. And that's, I think some probably still do. That's why you don't hear of a lot of accidents at like Disney or Hershey Park or stuff like that. Now, to be fair, one time at Hershey Park a few years ago, we were in the wading pool and there was one of the roller coasters rode overhead. It got stuck, but it didn't break. They stopped the roller coaster. Someone out there was able to get it restarted and everything was fine. So it happens, but that's scary when you are on a ride, enjoying yourself, and all of a sudden it breaks and you get hurt badly or you die. And that's a problem with a lot of these amusement parks because they're high up and you're falling and you can really do damage to yourself if you're not careful. Boy creates bow ties for shelter animals to help them get adopted. So this little boy who loves bow ties, he creates bow ties for shelter animals, gives them to the shelter animals so that people see them and go, oh, look how sweet, he's wearing a bow tie. And it's a really good idea by that kid, and he's going to go places. It's really cool. The Area 51 raid is still apparently on. I haven't heard much more about lately, but Lil Nas X says he's going to perform at the Area 51 raid. He said he would love to do that. He's the guy who's the Old Town Road, which is the hugely popular song out there now that my kid can't keeps singing. Both my kids actually keep singing it, so it's a hugely popular song right now. Speaking of kids, and this is kind of true for my son, kids nowadays would rather be a YouTuber than an astronaut. Basically, when they grow up, they would rather be a YouTuber, like me, instead of an astronaut exploring outer space and doing stuff. I guess they think it's easy to do YouTube stuff, particularly since they're watching it all the time, and they watch video games and they make funny videos, stuff like that, and you get millions of viewers. Not me. I've been capping around 18, 19 viewers lately, but mostly about 5 or 6 for these videos. And I'll probably get about this many for this one as well. And even then, they don't even watch the whole video. They watch a portion of it and say, yeah, this guy's boring, and click, turn it off. So I doubt there's anybody who's ever watched a whole episode of my show, except me, because I'm doing it right now. There might be somebody out there. But anyway, they would prefer to be a YouTuber than an astronaut, which I think is just, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's the era, it's the time, and it makes sense. And it's still 5-5 going into the 6th inning for the Orioles. Okay. Python swallows a crocodile whole. Now, crocodiles, I've been saying, have been showing up a lot recently in a lot of the stories over the last few weeks. Here's another one. A python swallowing a crocodile whole is absolutely insane. And believable because that's what pythons do. A survival expert warns Australians not to dismiss Yowie sightings. Yowie is Australia's version of Bigfoot. I'm currently rereading the Bigfoot Casebook, which was a book I read when I was a kid back in the 80s, and I got it out of the library all the time and reread it all the time. And I lost track of it. I never was able to find it again. And I checked Amazon recently, and they have an updated version of it, so I bought that. I'm rereading it right now. So, but yeah, I mean, Bigfoots are sighted all over the world, and in Australia they're called Yowie. And survival expert says, don't sleep on the Yowie sightings. If you see something, report something. And of all places, Australia would probably be a good place to have yowies because a lot of their land is desolate and there's not a lot going on. And they already have all kinds of bizarre creatures anyway, so why not one more? Speaking of which, this is the Gulf of Mexico. This is a bit closer to home, but a pocket shark has been discovered. It's the first new shark discovered in a while. And it glows in the dark, apparently, also. So it's one of those creatures that lives deep underground, but he made his appearance in the Gulf of Mexico, got caught, and discovered that he has bioluminescence and glows in the dark as well. Interesting. Over 6,000 people have bought alien abduction insurance, which is worth $10 million. The thing is, how would you prove that you're abducted by aliens and for you to cash in on your alien abduction insurance, unless it's for those who get abducted by aliens and are never returned? Now, that in turn could cause a whole other issue because, hey, why not kill somebody and then say they're abducted by aliens and cash in quickly? So I don't know. It just seems rather odd. But the fact that alien abduction insurance exists is the reason why it's on my show today. The CFL, regular NFL football, started their training camp on Thursday, so NFL season is now officially underway. The first preseason game is going to be on Sunday, the 4th, next Sunday. It's a Hall of Fame game. It's also when Ed Reed of the Ravens will be put into the Hall of Fame. Second Raven in 2 years, third in 4 years. And it's going to be a drop-off for a while, probably. There's not going to be very many other Ravens coming into the Hall of Fame. Not until possibly, what's his name? Terrell Suggs, who's still playing right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But the CFL is the Canadian Football League. The Maryland, Baltimore is one of the only cities in the United States that has ever had a CFL team. And they won their Grey Cup championship when they were that Baltimore team. And I went to a CFL game. It was kind of interesting. But there's no more CFL teams in the United States. They're all in Canada, but the CFL is underway right now. A CFL cornerback played in a recent game while in full Dark Knight Joker face makeup, meaning the white face makeup and the green and the red lips and the bizarre looking thing that was the Joker of the Dark Knight saga. But he literally wore it during his football game. Kind of funny. Kind of freaks somebody out also seeing that across from you. Man in Speedo was kicked in the crotch by a wild horse on the beach. Now, there are wild horses on the beach in North Carolina. There are wild horses in Astig, which is actually where my wife and daughter are, and I got pictures of them, seeing horses walk through their campsite. So it can happen, but dude in a Speedo gets smacked in the crotch by one of these wild horses. It's always fun when somebody that isn't you gets hit in the crotch. Rice farmers discover a meteor hit their rice fields. It's a pretty big meteor, kind of not massive big, but it was bigger than probably about the size of a basketball. And it actually landed in their rice field, which is kind of interesting. And finally, fall is right around the corner, and you're going to start seeing this stuff coming out all the time. Kit Kat is making its first foray into the fall foodies scale here on July 27th. Yep. July 27th, 2019 will be the first time this year that I'll be talking about a food that's coming in the fall. Kit Kat is going to be releasing a pumpkin pie flavored Kit Kat, not pumpkin spice, pumpkin pie flavor, which basically is a Kit Kat with a pumpkin pie filling inside of it. So it's kind of like pumpkin spice, but it's also going to be more like a pumpkin pie sort of taste to it instead of the pumpkin spice one. So instead of pumpkin spice Kit Kat, you're getting pumpkin pie Kit Kat. So the first fall food of the year is right there, the pumpkin pie Kit Kat coming soon, which means fall is coming soon, which gets me so excited. And that's where we're going to end the episode tonight. For the regular stories. This week, Purple Rain, the movie and the album, was released in 1984, which makes it 84, 94, 2004, 2014, 35 years ago. The Muppet movie is 40 years old this week. Captain America, the First Avenger is 8 years old this week. Inspector Gadget is 36 years old this week. Jimmy Neutron is 17 years old. And REM's second album, Reckoning, is 35th anniversary is this week as well. Not one of my favorite albums of theirs, but anything REM I always like to mention. Real quick, we'll do Check I Day, and then I'm off for 2 weeks, and I won't be back again probably till the 10th of August, and we'll be on a new platform, and hopefully by then I'll understand what the platform is. Still nothing from the woman saying she'd respond to everybody, but she did have a lot of responses, so I'm not expecting her to respond to me, so that's fine. All right, let's see. What do we got? Check I Day. Today, July 27th, is Bagpipe Appreciation Day, which is why I played that song at the beginning of the show. Cross-Atlantic Communication Day, National Creme Brulee Day, National Dance Day, National Day of the American Cowboy, National Drowning Prevention, National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day, National Scotch Day, National Paddle for Perthes Disease Awareness Day, Take Your Pants for a Walk Day, Walk on Stilts Day. That was all today, the 27th. Yesterday, the 26th, was Aunt and Uncle's Day, National All or Nothing Day, National Bagel Fest Day, National Coffee Milkshake Day, National Get Gnarly Day, National Talk in an Elevator Day, One Voice Day, System Administrator Appreciation Day, Culinarians Day. July 25th, Thursday, was Feast of St. James, Health and Happiness with Hypnosis Day, International Red Shoe Day, National Carousel Day, National Chili Dog Day, National Hire a Veteran Day, National Hot Fudge Sundae Day, National Intern Day, National Refreshment Day, National Wine and Cheese Day, Thread the Needle Day. And tomorrow, the 28th, is World Nature Conservation Day, World Hepatitis Day, Reek Sunday, excuse me, Parents' Day, National Water Park Day, National Milk Chocolate Day, National Hamburger Day, Buffalo Soldiers Day. Oh, we have a Buffalo Soldiers thing at over here, and Auntie's Day, and that's that. So on that note, that's all I got for this week, the last week of July. So I will be off again next week, as I said, because my daughter and I will be doing our movie marathon. Unless I decide to do a Friday show or whatever, I don't think I will, because August 1st is when they're no longer going to allow the Hangouts on air to be done through YouTube. So I'll have to figure out how to do my show from then on. So the next time I do this show might be a little bit different the way you're looking at it. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably test it over the next couple of weeks. So enjoy your next 2 weeks. I will probably be back up here in the kitchen then, if I figured out everything to do in 2 weeks, to do a extra long show, because I'm still going to be doing my stories for this week and next week. So, or next weekend and the week after. So we'll see what happens. So on that note, have a good night, stay cool, and that's all I got. I'm going to bed.